Welcome to today's Garage Devotional. I'm Pastor Ted from Connect Church. We're continuing our Garage Devotional series called The Strange, the Weird, and Unique Bible Passages. Today's title is Silence at Times Speaks More Than Words. In the rest of our series, we're probably going to be looking at more of the unique Bible passage and not the strange and the weird. And this is one of those that we're going to look at today. Comes out of the Old Testament book of Job. But before we jump in there, let's look at this week's strange and unique car. No other automobile looks like this way. It's the 1947 Norman Timms Special, which had a front-mounted cockpit. Let me get it up there for you to see it. A front-mounted cockpit, had curves leading out all the way to raindrop tails in the back. So you see it there. And that it's a gorgeous looking car, a unique car, definitely. It had a straight 8 engine. A racing engineer had designed the car and put it together. And the engine was in the rear of the car, which was unique again for those days and unique again, even our culture today, of cars. So that's our unique car for the day. Now let's jump in with some unique verses that we're going to look at today in our Garage Devotional. The first one is found in Job 13:15, and it says this: "Oh, that you would keep silent, and it would be your wisdom." Job is saying that his friend's silence would be wiser than all their great words or quotes or unquote, all those things that they were saying to get him to understand what his problem was. Job was saying that only if they'd keep silent, because there's more wisdom in the silence in their words that they were giving him. How does that affect us? We're going to look at it a little bit more, but think about that. Many times, and probably most times, silence speaks more than all these words that we could come up with. And the silence prepares us and prepares others as well to not only listen, but to hear and to do. So as we look at this, let's take a few minutes to get the backstory of Job, though. Job loved God and followed God's will and plan. He had a wonderful wife and family and children and lots of lands and herds and houses. He is very well to do. He knew God and God blessed him richly. But on one day, he lost his whole family except for his wife. He lost all his workers, all his hands that worked for him. He lost it all in one day, as well as all his lands. Think about it, that in one day he lost all these things. He worshiped God, though, and he said this after losing that. He said, "The Lord gave and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord." In all the tragedy, Job did not sin or charge God with wrongdoing. But 3 days later, it wasn't over yet. 3 days later, he was struck with a disease producing horrible sores or boils all over his body. His wife told him, "Curse God and die. Just do that and get it over with." He said, "God gives the good and the disasters." Think about that. Job said, and he was correct, God gives the good and the disasters. The end of the story, though, finds Job restored to health and blessed by God with greater amounts of land, greater amounts of livestock, greater amounts of children and houses than he ever had. Our focus today, though, is going to be on this passage and two others that'll show us how silence is wiser than all the words we might say at times. The first verse, as I already read, was Job 13:5. Let's go through this. So point one, this first verse is, many times all of us speak before we have heard and have received an understanding of what the person or persons are saying or going through. We all do that. Most of the time we speak first without getting understanding. We need to listen with the goal of understanding instead of trying to find ways to refute, to attack, or to bend them to our way of thinking or our way of seeing things. We are always to listen in order to gain understanding, not to gain a foothold to get them moved to our way or to our point. Job tells his friends that their silence has greater wisdom than them speaking. Knowing this, my beloved brothers, let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, slow to anger. James in the New Testament tells that in James 1:19, that we are to be slow to speak, but quick to hear, and slow to anger in our lives. That's great wisdom. The next verse we're going to talk about is Job 1:6-12. Here we kind of get on a pull from this that Jesus allows at times pain, suffering, challenges, and attacks of the enemy. Let me read these verses. Now there was a day when the sons of God came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan also came among them. The Lord said to Satan, "From where have you come?" Satan answered the Lord and said, "From going to and fro on the earth, and from walking up and down it." And the Lord said to Satan, "Have you considered my servant Job, that there is none like him on the earth, a blameless and upright man who fears God and turns away from evil?" Then Satan answered the Lord and said, "Does Job really fear you for no reason? Have you not put a hedge around him and his house and all that he has on every side? You have blessed the work of his hands, and his possessions has increased in the land." But he says, "But stretch out your hand and touch all that he has, and he will curse you to your face." And the Lord said to Satan, "Behold, all that he has is in your hand. Only against him do not stretch out your hand." So Satan went out from the presence of the Lord, and he did attack Job at that point, as we just read. Why? Why would God do this? Why? In this whole kind of crazy, unique passage. It's unique, it's crazy, but it gives us insight. First, there will be times we will not know why something happens to us until eternity. There'll be times where we don't know why this thing happened to us, but we will know in eternity. Second, if Jesus is allowing struggle, pain, loss, etc., know this, that he will bring good out of it, and he will bless others through it as well. Romans 8:28 says this, "And we know that for those who love God, all things work together for good for those who are called according to his purpose." But we must give up our turn in order for Jesus to fully complete his purpose. We need to give up or turn away, we need to give up or turn away from our way of doing things and our thoughts. We need to turn completely in order to do his purpose. Third, Jesus does not always promise to deliver us or stop every negative or bad thing from happening, but he does promise to be with us and keep us and turn it into good for the long run. Job had a blind spot. Job 42:1-6 says this, "Then Job answered the Lord," this is the very end of the book, "and said, I know that you can do all things, and that no purpose of yours can be thwarted. Who is this that hides counsel without knowledge? Therefore I have uttered what I did not understand, things wonderful for me which I did not know. Here I will speak, I will question you, and you make it known to me. I had heard of you by the hearing of the ear, but my eyes didn't see you, but now my eyes do see you." And he goes on to say, "Therefore I despise myself and repent in dust and ashes." You see, he did come to God and in that last part of his struggle and said God was unfair. And he wanted to debate God as he would. Job's only wrongdoing is that he thought he knew better than Jesus and that he could stand on equal footing with him. One person put it this way, that Job thought he could get in the boxing ring with Jesus and go toe-to-toe with him and come out doing well. Jesus is gracious with us. He's long-suffering with us, but we cannot stand before him as equals. That is what Satan thought and tried, but he lost. He was thrown out of heaven because he thought he could be equal to God. Now, no, Satan wasn't a fool. He wasn't a fool. And he does want to fool us. And he does want to stand equal to God. And he does want us to think that we can stand equal to God. And that's the trap. That's the trap. When we start questioning God in the sense of, God, why did you do this to me? Why did you allow this happen? We could ask him, but not in the way of asking him by demanding that he needs to justify what he does. He is God. But everything he does for us is for our good. and for our love, and that he loves us always. Jesus is fully God. He has taken on humanity and his life, and he's freely chose to give up his life to the cross and take all of our sin, making its own, dying and being buried for us, and then rising from the dead so that we might freely be able to choose his gift of new life and forgiveness. So I want us to remember as we close today, remember we are never alone. In the most dark of times, in the most painful of times, we are not alone, and Jesus is with us. Let us remember that Jesus will bring good out of all things. Let us remember that God has a purpose, even in those things he allows or directs that might be struggle and pain to us, but he will bring good out of it and produce the character of Jesus in us. Lord bless you. We'll see you next week.